All right, ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, I'm going to be going over a bunch of tactics to build your EAT or your trust with Google. As you can see over here on Ahrefs, whenever Google releases a core update, one of the main things that they focus on is EAT, or at least they say they do. And if Google decides that your website has low EAT or low trust, you might just end up losing all of your rankings one day like this. So we're going to be covering a bunch of stuff here. We're going to be covering on-site EAT, off-site EAT, in-content EAT, and make sure you watch till the end of the video because I'm going to be going over an AI hack that is really good for helping you write content that is high in EAT. And again, the goal is so that your rankings do not look like this and they end up looking more like this. All right, let's get into it. So I'm Chris Gegis, and you might know me from my link building agency over at solinksalt.co or our other Facebook group or YouTube channel. Or maybe you've seen me around on some other podcasts or at some SEO conferences, but you can go to my website for more information on me. Real quick for beginners, if you're not really sure what EAT is, EEAT, it's experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, but all of this together really measures how trustworthy Google thinks that your site is. Of course, Google wants to give rankings to websites that they think are trustworthy sources of information. So if you want to see Google's documentation, you can go over to Google Search Central and search for their EAT guidelines for more information. Here's an example of a website that is very low in EAT. Let's say they just have some categories up here. They have a contact us page. They have a bunch of articles. Articles have authors, but there's no information about any of the authors. Down here at the bottom, there's really no information about the company at all. And how I found this website is it's a guest post farm that someone just sent in a spam email to us. You can see they have a DR of 50 and they've got about 1.4K traffic, so some people might actually buy backlinks on this website. But if you go into the top pages here, you can see the only page that they're getting any traffic to is their homepage, and it's for the keyword, which is essentially www and their brand name. So I can tell you with 100% confidence that they manipulated Ahrefs to include a keyword for some search volume that actually doesn't have any search volume. They just use CTR manipulation to do this. But anyways, do not buy a link from this website. I just wanted to show you an example very quickly of a website with very low EAT, very low trust signals from Google. Of course, evidenced by the fact that Google's not letting it rank for anything. Before we get to the good part, a couple disclaimers really quick. First of all, it seems that EAT is a negative ranking factor, meaning that if you have rankings one day, if you don't have enough EAT, you might just lose them. However, if you already had pretty decent rankings and you add more EAT, I wouldn't really expect to see a ranking boost from it. So it could be something that causes you to lose all your traffic, and then if you've lost all your traffic and you add EAT to your site, you might be able to gain it back, but I really wouldn't expect to see ranking gains if you already have decent rankings. It's more to protect yourself. Next up, I'm going to cover a ton of things in this video, and you do not need to do all of them. I'm just trying to give you a ton of ideas of ways that you can add EAT to your website. You're gonna have to use your brain a little bit and only apply the ones to your website that you think make sense. And lastly, we need to understand that Google is not very good at understanding EAT yet, even though they are trying to move in this direction. They are definitely not perfect at understanding this stuff. There was a really cool video on Authority Hacker yesterday. It seems like I shout these guys out a lot, but they put out some really good content. But anyway, they played a game where they looked at websites and they tried to guess if they thought the website would go up or down in the most recent updates. And the TLDR was that pretty much there's no way to determine if the website is going to go up or down based on EAT. Some websites with really bad EAT went up, and some websites with really good EAT ended up going down. So no, Google is not perfect on this, but yes, they're trying to move in this direction, and I would expect them to get much better at understanding EAT into the future. So it's something I'm definitely baking into all of my SOPs. And lastly, before we get started, this video is actually inspired by a post I saw on LinkedIn, which said this is all you need to really do to focus on EAT, which I don't think is enough at all. About page, author bios, some reviews on your website, some personal stories, case studies, backlinks, and internal links, which this one just doesn't make any sense at all to really be included on this list. This other stuff is definitely a good starting point. However, we're going to go a lot deeper than this. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. So I think one of the best ways to show you this is just to go and show it a successful example on a website that's implemented EAT very well. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is on-site EAT. We're going to be looking at a bunch of pages they've added to their website that instill a lot of trust with Google and with their readers. You can see up here they've got a careers page, a for journalists page, of course a contact email, a phone number, contact us page. Of course on the careers page they just mentioned some job openings they have. Here they talk about reaching them for media inquiries. They talk about some of the experts on their team that might be able to help people in the media. Of course, they have a contact page, which is pretty standard, but you can see they've got a lot of stuff on their contact page here. They've got this form here. They've got a ton of other ways to contact them over here on the right side. They've got some trust badges here, which actually include links to the things they're displaying. Like, for example, here is their BBB. A bunch of information about their offices as well. Clicking about up here at the top, we can see a bunch of other pages they have on their website. Again, they have some trust stuff right here. About page, mission page, leadership page, our team, portfolio, which is pretty much case studies, client reviews, partners, locations, pricing models, our approach, ROI calculator, partnerships, sustainability policy, FAQ, testimonials, awards, again, careers, become our agent, referral program, thought leadership, news, for journalists, our experts for media. So you can see these guys really went nuts and have a ton of stuff here. Again, scrolling down their homepage, they have the trust badges front and center. They mention this Financial Times rating quite a bit over the site, and they even have a link to the press release about it. Case studies, which we'll dive into more in a second. Client reviews, and they're actually linking to the LinkedIn pages of the people who've left reviews for them. Partnerships. An FAQ at the bottom of the page, which also has some more important information about their company and how they operate. Can you make projects faster? What's your pricing like? What's your post-launch policy? How do you control the quality of the software you deliver? And again, a bunch of stuff at the bottom of the page. Again, privacy policy, terms of use, copyright, phone numbers, address, contact information, more trust badges. So let's go ahead and look at some of these other trust pages they've added to their website. Here's their about page. They have some nice unique images, going in and talking about a lot of their experience here, their offices and where they operate, company highlights, who they serve, some of their successful clients, reviews down here at the bottom, along with a video review as well. And really, this page just keeps going and going and going, and you can look at it yourself to get a better idea of what they're doing on this page. But you can see their about page is very in-depth, right? Next up, we have their mission statement, which is a very small page, right? It's only a couple of paragraphs here. You could write a mission statement quite easily for your brand. And it basically just talks about your view towards business. That's really pretty simple stuff and very easy to add to your website. Next up, we have their leadership team, which contains a lot of people, of course. We'll open up a couple of them and take a look real quick. Here's Boris. Looks like the image thing is broken right here. I'm not really sure what's going on, but it gives some information about Boris. You can view his full profile, links to his LinkedIn, his Twitter. You can reach out to him directly, his top article here, and then a ton of information about Boris other than just, saying, hi, my name is Boris, and I know a bunch of stuff about IT. Other publications he's been featured on. So really overall, just a great kind of author page. Here we have their team page, and their team is quite big, so they have links to other team pages. Let's look at their project management office as well as their business analysis team. So here's their business analysis team. You can see it talks about, the leader of the team, some facts about the team, their design team, web development team, just a bunch of different stuff in here, right? Here we have their portfolio page, or if it's on your website, you might want to call it something like case studies. But it's really the same thing. And of course, it just has a bunch of successful projects that they've worked on with buttons to read more about the individual projects. Let's take a look at one, give some quick information about what they're doing, about the client, the challenge, solution. And it's going to go into a bunch of the stuff that they did to actually get results for this client. Here we have their testimonials page or reviews page. Again, just a bunch of reviews here. You can click to see even more. These guys have really gone over the top, and you can click the read more button to see the original kind of letter they've written with the full review. And up here, they're just giving a snippet of it. So this is pretty extreme, but yeah, these guys are very, very, very high in EAT, right? And each review also corresponds to a case study they've done as well. Next up, we have a partners page. If your business partners with anyone, of course, you could list them here. Locations page, of course, is pretty self-explanatory. They have a nice custom map though, some quick information, and then more information about all of their offices as well as contact information for each one. Pricing model, if you have some kind of service or a product that you offer, you could talk about how you price it and the way that you price things. Approach to software development is a little bit kind of like a mission statement page, but it really just tells you exactly how they approach certain types of projects that they do. An ROI calculator is a really nice touch here. It basically just gives you a way to calculate the kind of costs and what your expected returns could be if you invested on a project using them. Sustainability policy, pretty self-explanatory here. Talking about humans' rights, health and safety, all that kind of stuff. FAQ, very common questions that people might have about their company, just about their company in general, about their pricing, projects, starting a new project, deliveries of the projects, quality of the projects, intellectual property, just all the common things that people ask when they're doing business with this company. Awards, any awards that your company has been featured on, of course. You click the details button for more information on each one. Affiliate program, referral program. Thought leadership looks kind of just like a blog reel where they're talking about ways in which they are kind of leading the industry and new ideas. Press releases page is just a collection of different things they've put out to the news over the years. The For Journalists page, of course, is just a page where you can get more information about contacting them if you are a journalist and need some information about their company or what they're doing. Media experts, pretty self-explanatory. So what have we learned from this? First of all, we've learned that Sciencesoft here is doing an incredible job of putting a bunch of these kind of EAT and trust things on their website, and Google obviously is rewarding that. You can see that their rankings are pretty much at all-time high. They haven't really been affected by core updates at all. They just are on a steady trajectory going up and up and up. They have about 250,000 of a traffic right now, and an industry where leads are worth quite a bit of money. Like I mentioned before, not all of these things are going to be applicable depending on what your business is, what type of website you have. But tons of really good ideas here, right? And definitely a lot more than the examples we saw here, which was pretty much just a few different pages. You can really go a lot more into EAT than just these things. Let's look at one more good example here, and this is housefresh.com. They have an affiliate disclosure here at the top of the website, a link to their about page, of course, some of their social media up here. So one thing I didn't really notice on Sciencesoft was I didn't really see many links to their social media, or any at all, really. Kind of interesting, but anyway, very good thing that you can do if you have social media, which I hope you do, because we learned that Google really loves this when you're a brand across other platforms rather than just trying to get SEO traffic. I got this video on my channel right here, a traffic diversification case study where I've got a lot more information on this stuff. And while you're over there, go ahead and give the video a like and give my channel a sub if you are enjoying the content. But back to HouseFresh. They've even got links to the most recent YouTube videos here, which is quite different. Really, this would normally be just a related kind of blog post reel, but they have links to their YouTube videos, which I think is pretty cool. I'm not going to cover all this stuff. Of course, they have a team page and author bios, but I'm not going to cover that right now. They have a newsletter. They talk about the way that they review products, which is quite important if you are an affiliate or a review type website, where they've been featured on trust badges. Then they've got separate pages, of course, for About Us, Ask Us Anything, how we test products, terms of use, privacy policy, cookie policy, which I don't think is one that we saw on the last site. All of their social media again here at the bottom, affiliate disclosure page again. Quick look at their About page. You can see it's pretty in-depth as well. A lot of information here. Looks like they have their own subreddit, which is a cool idea. Information on how they test their products, which of course is very in-depth and has a lot of information. And their affiliate disclosure. Very quickly, let's go ahead and take a look at one of the articles. See that the author is front and center. It's got this cool little pop-up when you hover over it, and it also goes to the author's page when you click on it. Contact information, email, and social media. Quick information about them, latest articles. Definitely not as in-depth as the other one, but still got, relevant information about a real person and real ways to contact this real person. They put front and center in their articles how they test things with a link, which is pretty cool. They got a video on the same topic. And then scrolling down to the bottom, why you should trust us, our best guides, about the author, links here to social media again. We'll cover more stuff about the content here in a minute. All right, so that was On-Site EAT, which was quite a mouthful. Also saw this post by Nathan Gotch, who also puts out some really good SEO content with some other ideas for EAT pages. Just very quickly, some of the things that we didn't cover already. Company history, mission statement, and core values. I guess core values can be a little bit different. Company culture, company ethics, user-generated content, which could be pretty much something like reviews, right? And it looks like the rest of the stuff we pretty much covered here already. So far we've covered all of the different kind of pages that you can put on your website to build trust or build EAT with Google. Now we're going to cover the off-site stuff, things that you can do that are not on your own website that can make Google trust you more. I'm gonna go pretty quick on this section because I've actually got a dedicated video to this, 20 plus off-page EAT signals. So you can check out my channel to watch the full video on that. I go into this, of course, a lot more in depth in this video with examples of each thing. But TLDR, here is the things that we talk about in the video. So you could have active social media or YouTube accounts, and this will depend on the niche, depending on what kind of social media you want to be active on. For example, Pinterest, you might not want to be on for your niche unless it's very visual, something like arts and crafts, or something like quotes or clothes. Of course, YouTube is another great way. But the key here is to actually be active on these things, to actually build following, have real engagement, real views, all of this stuff, and actually be sending traffic to your website from these things. Google really loves when your website gets traffic from additional sources. So there's a reason that this is number one on the offsite EAT list here. Next up, social profiles. It's really easy to create social profiles. Just go set up profiles on all the different social media and other websites that you might use one day for your brand. Link back to your website. Google has a patent here discussing why they look at social profiles to establish your entity or brand. Next up, for link building, you could do guest post or link insertions. And in the guest post or link insertion, rather than only providing a link to your website, you could also talk about your brand in the piece and have your brand mentioned in a good way. You could also use paid parasites. Of course, parasite SEO is when you pay a website similar to a guest post, but it's a very high authority website and you pay the website to post something on their website. A lot of people don't generally use it for EAT, but you could use a paid parasite to just write a puff piece about your brand, something very positive about your brand. Next up, you could get editorial features on other websites. For example, you just write a very in-depth content piece for another website and then talk about your brand on that as well and have a link to your website. It's kind of like a guest post, but a very high quality one essentially. Next up, you could use free parasites like Reddit and Quora. Again, you could do it yourself by posting and just talking about your brand on these different forums, or you could pay someone or other influencers to talk about your brand for you. Next up, we have forums. Reddit is essentially a forum, but you could do the same thing on forums. Talk about your brand in a positive light on forums. Just be aware that you might get banned if people think you're just trying to promote your brand. So you have to do things in a very natural way or get someone else to do it for you. Of course, follow their guidelines and all that stuff. That same goes for Reddit. You got to be really careful that you're not getting banned on these things. Next up, press releases. You could spend anywhere from, $50 or $100 to like $700 or even $1,000 to get a very good press release and talk about your brand in that press release, some kind of news about your brand, the amount of revenue that your company has gained this year. Maybe you're hiring new employees, any kind of news really. Digital PR, which is essentially very expensive link building that revolves around creating very good content and then shopping it out to journalists and getting them to hopefully pick up your article and link to you. Haro, or Connectively as it's better known now, for getting quoted in other journalist articles that they're doing on whatever subject. Reviews, and for right here, we already talked about on-site reviews. Now we're talking about off-site reviews. So maybe you have a third-party review aggregator like Trustpilot that you could get on and make sure you're sending clients over there to give you some positive reviews. Google really loves this stuff. So if there's a place that you can get third-party reviews, be sure to get those. And another thing is you could pay other websites, kind of similar to a guest post, to do something like, for our link building agency, it could be like Sir Links-a-Lot review. So they're creating an entire article about your company and why they had a good experience with you. Next up, for anyone in your industry who does roundups or lists of specific things you could try to get included on them, just send them an email, do a little outreach, and explain why you should be. Podcasts and interviews is one of my favorite ways to build EAT because, you can get on these podcasts and the person who's in charge of the podcast will generally distribute it to a bunch of different places. So you can really have your brand and your name kind of showing up everywhere. Next up, influencer marketing. You can pay influencers depending on what kind of social media channel that your audience is more active on. You could find an influencer to say something about your brand. Here we have PPC or pay-per-click advertising. You can do paid ads because a lot of times when people see PPC ads, they will then Google your brand name. So you could drive branded searches. Google loves seeing branded searches. Anything you can do to get people searching for your brand name is generally a good thing because, it just builds a lot of trust with Google. Next up, you could do some courses on some kind of third-party platforms. Kind of similar, you could write books and put them on Amazon, Goodreads, etc. It's really easy to do all this stuff. If applicable, you could also set up an account on things like Upwork or Fiverr. And last but not least, if you make your clients happy, your clients will generally go out onto the internet and do all of this stuff for you, or a lot of it. So take care of your clients, and hopefully they'll go out and spread the good word. Again, more information on this video here. I got to avoid trying to explain everything or else this video would be hours long and I got other work to do. Next up, we're going to talk about in-article EAT. If you've been watching my channel for any time at all, you've probably seen me show this checklist, which I use for editing AI content or really any content in general. And yes, I'm going to be giving away this checklist at one point, but not quite yet. So definitely sub to the channel. Hopefully I'll be giving it away in about a month or so. So when we are writing articles, the two things that I really want my editors to do is to add these first two EATs, which are experience and expertise, into the articles, especially if you're using AI content, because AI doesn't do this at all. So very quickly, as an example, I just got ChatGPT to spit out some information here about how to find toxic backlinks. Let's pretend that we're writing an article on toxic backlinks. The first thing I want to be sure to sprinkle in throughout this article is our expertise. The introduction, of course, is a very good place to do this. Your expertise is basically why people should trust you on this topic. So of course, over here at SirLinks-a-Lot.co, we are a link building agency, so we're going to want to talk about that a little bit and why that qualifies to speak on this topic. Identifying toxic backlinks is crucial for maintaining a healthy SEO profile and avoiding penalties from search engines. Here's a step-by-step guide to help you boost those harmful links. So really not any information about why we should be trusted, right? So let's go ahead and add some stuff in. So I've just added this sentence. At our link building agency, one of the most common problems we see clients have is with massive amounts of toxic backlinks. And then I've gone ahead and added a second sentence in here. Getting rid of these links has contributed to success in over 1,000 of our link building campaigns. So again, we're just talking about why we're qualified to speak on this subject. We're talking about our company. We're talking about our experience in this industry doing this specific thing. Introduction is definitely a good place to say this, like I mentioned, but you can also do it throughout the entire article. You don't need to do it in every single section, but every now and then would definitely be a good look. Doing this is also going to add in unique information to your article, so your article is not the same as everyone else. Because of course, when you're talking about your brand, what your brand does, your experience in the industry, no one else is going to have that information, right? And the next thing that we want to do when we're editing our article is to do more experience. So you're just going to be adding in kind of firsthand experience, firsthand anecdotes. It's kind of similar like adding in your expertise, but it's a little bit different. So let's go into that real quick. So here it says, start by using a reliable backlink analysis tool like Ahrefs, SEMrush, and Moz. So I've added in these two sentences really quickly. In our experience, Ahrefs does the best job and is the tool we prefer. We find the SEMrush toxic link score to be pretty untrustworthy, suggesting many quality links to disavow. So again, we're getting more specific here, talking about our opinions on things. We're including a lot more unique information that's unique to our experience. And again, here I've added in one more sentence. In our test, 75% of the links suggested to be toxic were not. So I'm getting very specific with a percentage here. Unique information, our experience. Not generic like every other article that just used ChatGPT or is just having very basic information, not really showing that they know the ins and outs of the subject that we're talking about. So what you want to do is you want to go out through the entire article and be sure that you're adding stuff like this throughout your articles. I realize that this sounds like a lot of work and it sounds like that because it is. But if you want your rankings to not look like this and to look like this instead, this is something that I'm paying a lot of attention to when I'm adding any type of content to any website that I'm working on. Like I mentioned before, I think Google is just going to get better and better at understanding this stuff over time. So even though they might overstate how good they are at understanding it now, and some SEOs might overstate that as well, to me, it's too risky to not be doing this stuff. I don't want to lose my rankings and take over a year to start seeing recoveries and not even be a full recovery. So highly recommend adding EAT into your articles, as well as all the other stuff that I've got mentioned on this checklist here. EAT and information gain probably being the most important ones. Again, just very quickly, you can go over your personal experience. You can dive into the specifics of very small details, numbers, images, which is another thing I didn't really mention, but unique images are a way to show your experience with something, right? So on this k.html links article we have on our website, I'm actually showing images of screenshots that I've taken when I was doing work on this specific topic. And of course, if you are doing something like reviewing a product, having unique images of you actually using that product are very good. All right, and last up, I'm going to show you an AI hack that will significantly help you with EAT and makes this stuff a lot easier in a lot of cases. Steve Toth actually sent out a newsletter today, I think it was today at least, where it says EAT on steroids, building expert GPT bots. And he talks about how he's basically getting PDF documents of different pages on your website and feeding it into ChatGPT and creating a bot that knows a lot about your company. And because the bot knows a lot about your company, you can then use ChatGPT to inject EAT into kind of any content that you're writing for that company. Steve does a bunch of technical stuff here with Python and scripts and whatnot, but I'm going to show you the easy way to do it that I've been using for a while. So what we can do is we can come over to ScienceSoft and let's go ahead and do about the company and their mission statement. On whatever page you want to feed information in ChatGPT, you can just right click and hit print. And then where it says save as PDF, you can just go ahead and save that. So we're going to save this one and we're going to save this one as well. So here I've said I'm writing an article about software development best practices. Here are some documents about my company. Write an introduction section for the article, reference information from these documents. And you can see here now that ChatGPT has a lot of context to work with, a lot of information about our company. So our article, anything that we write on this subject is going to have very unique information in it. Of course, this prompt is not very good, especially for introductions. ChatGPT is not very good with introductions. So we definitely want to edit this to make it a lot shorter because this is way too long. Again, I'm telling it to write the next section of the article, and it's, of course, injecting a lot of stuff about the company throughout this entire article, giving the best practices for software development with our company's spin on things. I'm just doing this for a quick example. When you're really doing this stuff, you probably want to create an outline and just go section by section and give it a lot more guidelines. I just want to do a very quick example for you. But really the cool thing about ChatGPT and these LLMs is that they're getting able to handle a lot larger context, meaning you can really feed them a good amount of documents to help write the articles that you're writing. So you can even add more documents than this if you wanted to. It just depends how long each one is. And definitely make sure that you're not doing this lazy prompting that I'm doing just for this example, right? But what you'll see that even with this lazy prompting, this is going to be significantly better than any other content that ChatGPT is pumping out. Like I mentioned before, you can do things like your about page, your mission statement, maybe some of your case studies. You could even link to one of your specific case studies about one of the things that you're talking about, or any other article that you've already written on the website that has information that is unique to your website and your company. One caveat here, I feel like ChatGPT actually does a much better job when doing this, when writing things like your service pages or kind of these core pages on your website rather than entire blog articles. You can definitely use these things on your blog articles as well, but yeah, you're going to have to give it a lot more guidance than I did than these really short prompts. But I really can't emphasize how powerful this really is and how much it can speed up the process of creating quality, unique content that is tailored for your brand. And even if you don't have these pages on your website, you could even just go into a Word document and just do a stream of consciousness and just write, a page or two about your company and the way you guys do things, and then feed that into ChatGPT. All right, guys, we really covered a ton of stuff in this video, and I am getting tired of recording. We covered on-site EAT along with a couple of really good examples. We also covered how you could build your off-site trust or EAT with Google with all these different tactics. We covered how to inject experience and expertise into every single article, every single paragraph that you write so that your blog posts are unique and Google sees them as quality content. And I showed you a quick little AI hack as well that I'm going to use on every single project that I'm doing. Again, you don't have to do all of this stuff. A lot of it is going to just depend on what your company does. But the more the better, especially as Google gets more advanced and will hopefully keep your rankings not looking like this and will keep them looking more like this. All right, guys, that's it for now. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a like and give my channel a sub, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.